The Velari people lived in peace. For 200 years, they believed they were the only ones left in the galaxy. After the Great Galactic War, all other empires had fallen. Their historians said, "We are alone now. The stars are silent." But the stars were not silent. One day, a deep space listening station picked up a strange signal. It was weak, old, and hidden in static. But it was not natural. It had patterns, words, maybe warnings. The signal came from the edge of the dead zone, where the old war had burned everything. Commander Rallic stood inside the control room of the Velari scout ship Siren's Light. His fur stood up on his neck. He was nervous. "Where did this signal come from?" he asked. The young tech officer replied, "Sector 7 Gamma, near the wreckage field." "No one has gone there in over 100 years, Rallic said. "Send our best ship. Go see what it is." 1 week later, Siren's Light entered the wreckage zone. They moved slowly. Dead ships floated all around. Some were broken in half. Some looked like they were melted from inside. The ship's lights scanned the area. No movement, no signs of life. The crew was silent. Then the signal came again, louder this time. A voice whispered through the comms. "They are coming. The darkness wakes again. Run." The crew froze. "Who was that?" asked the pilot. "We don't know," the comms officer replied. But the voice, "It's not Velari." Suddenly, the lights flickered. "Power drop," shouted engineering. "Something is draining us." On the radar, red dots appeared, dozens of them. "Unknown ships incoming," the navigator yelled. Outside, small dark drones surrounded Siren's Light. They had no markings, no lights. They moved like insects, fast and without fear. "Shields up, prepare weapons," Rallic shouted. But it was too late. The drones struck with silent weapons. They fired energy that cut through metal like paper. One by one, parts of Siren's Light went dark. "We're being boarded," someone screamed. Sparks flew. Fires broke out inside the ship. Screams echoed through the halls. Rallic knew they would not make it. "Send the data," he ordered. "Send everything back to Velari Command. Now." The comms officer pressed the emergency beacon. The ship's last message was sent. "Unknown enemy. Tech far beyond ours. They were waiting in the dark. Tell the others, they are not gone." Then the ship exploded. At Velari High Command, the message played on every screen. Leaders watched in silence. "This is not possible," said High Counselor Varen. "The galaxy is empty." An old general spoke. "No, it was never empty. We just couldn't hear the ones who didn't want to be found." They called an emergency meeting. All military fleets were told to prepare. Scouts were recalled. Civilian ships were grounded. A young historian came forward. She held an ancient data chip. "This signal, I have seen something like it before," she said. She plugged in the chip. A hologram appeared. It was a recording, old, cracked, full of static. It showed a great battle, ships made of metal and fire. In the middle of them, one ship stood larger than all. The name on its side, EF's Vengeance. "Who built that?" someone asked. The historian answered, "Humans." The room went silent. "Humans are a myth," said one general. "No," she replied. "They were real. They fought in the old war. No one ever saw them after. Some said they were all gone. Others believed. They went to sleep." "Why would they sleep?" asked Varen. The historian looked at the screen. "Because they were waiting for something or someone." The last line in the old recording played out loud. "If the darkness ever returns." The Velari leaders were in panic. The message from Siren's Light had shocked them. The enemy was powerful. The weapons were unknown. And worst of all, they had returned without warning. In the war room of Velari High Command, High Counselor Varen stood before his generals. "They destroyed our best scout ship in seconds," he said. and they are hiding in the wreckage zone. This is not random. They waited for us to come. General Elak, a battle-hardened commander, stepped forward. We must strike first. We will send a fleet. Destroy everything in that sector. Varen nodded. Do it. We can't risk another loss. Soon, the Velari Defense Fleet 09 was on the move. 15 warships flew in formation. Their mission was simple: search and destroy anything near the wreckage zone. Commander Tero led the fleet. He was brave, but he had a bad feeling. This feels too easy, he told his second officer. The enemy wants us to come. We're flying into their trap. His officer laughed. Our ships are stronger. We'll be fine. But they were not. As the fleet entered Sector 7 Gamma, the stars around them began to shift. The scanners showed nothing unusual. But Tiro saw shadows, shapes moving where there should be none. Then everything went dark. Power failure. Someone yelled. All screens turned black. The lights dimmed. The ships began to drift. Suddenly, red lights filled the dark. Enemy ships appeared. They didn't look like ships. They looked like nightmares. Sharp edges, black metal. No sound, no signals, no mercy. The enemy fired. Velari ships tried to fight back, but their weapons had no effect. The enemy ships moved too fast. Their shields were too strong. One by one, the Velari ships were destroyed. Commander Tiro shouted, "Retreat! All ships fall back." But only 3 ships survived. They jumped back to Velari space, damaged and silent. Everyone on board was shaking. Their minds could not understand what they had seen. At Velari Command, the survivors gave their report. There were hundreds of them, one pilot said. They came from nowhere. We couldn't stop them. They were not like anything we've seen. What do they want? Varen asked. They didn't speak. They didn't send messages. They just attacked. The room was silent. Then the historian from before entered again. Her name was Kayla. She placed another data chip on the table. I found this in the old vaults, he said. It speaks of the Dark Fleet. The same ships that destroyed us now. Varen looked confused. You mean this happened before? Yes, Kayla replied. In the old war. Before the silence. Before the end. The Dark Fleet rose and killed everything. But one enemy stopped them. The humans, Varen whispered. Kayla nodded. The humans had something special. No one knew what it was. Some said their ships were alive. Others said their commanders could control energy with thought. But one thing is clear. When the humans disappeared, the Dark Fleet stopped. Why now? Asked General Elak. Why come back now? Kayla looked serious. Because they think no one can stop them now. That night, Kayla sat alone in the history chamber. She played the old recordings again. She watched the image of the giant human ship, EFS Vengeance, standing alone in a burning battlefield. I know you're out there, she whispered. Please, come back. Far away, on a silent moon deep in unmarked space, something stirred. Buried under ice, a massive structure began to shake. Lights turned on. Metal arms moved. Machines hummed to life. Inside a dark chamber, a large computer screen flickered. A message appeared. Threat detected. Priority code. Earth protocol. A voice spoke, calm, powerful, and human. Earth Fleet Command Center active. Scanning galaxy. Target confirmed. Enemies of humanity have returned. Back on Velari Prime. An emergency signal flashed across the sky. Deep in the outer rim of the galaxy, a cold, lifeless planet began to shake. For centuries, it had been forgotten. No one lived there. No ships visited. Even the stars above had turned away. But now, something had changed. Below the surface, giant metal doors opened. Lights turned on. Machines hummed. The old systems came back online. A soft voice echoed inside the underground base. Earth Fleet Command waking up. All systems. Standby mode ending. Threat level. Red. Inside a frozen chamber, rows of soldiers slept in cryopods. Human warriors. Silent. Waiting. One pod lit up. It hissed open. A tall woman opened her eyes. Her name was Admiral Sarah Kane. She stepped out of the pod. Her breath was cold. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "How long?" she asked the system. The voice replied, "You have been asleep for 215 years. Kane looked around. "Status report." The computer answered, "Enemy forces detected in the galaxy. Same signature as Dark Fleet. Velari civilization under attack. Emergency beacon activated." Kane stood tall. "Then it's time. Wake them all." Across the base, the other pods opened one by one. Human soldiers, men and women, opened their eyes. They were Earth's last defense force, the guardians of the void. In the command room, screens lit up. Maps showed enemy movement. The sky above Velari Prime burned red. Dark Fleet ships moved like shadows, covering the stars. Their weapons were charged. Their drones swarmed. The world below was moments away from destruction. But then, everything changed. The Earth fleet entered the battle. A wall of human warships appeared from hyperspace. Giant engines roared. Their metal hulls shined with strength. The lead ship, EFS Destiny, stood in front like a steel mountain. Inside the Destiny, Admiral Sarah Kane looked at the enemy ships. She took a deep breath. "This is for the galaxy," she said. "This is for Earth." Fire. The battle began. Human ships opened fire. Blue beams of pure energy lit up the stars. Cannons fired sonic blasts that tore through space. One after another, enemy ships exploded. The Dark Fleet struck back. Their weapons hit hard, but Earth's ships had something new: void shields. They absorbed the impact and pushed the energy back like a mirror. The Velari watched from the ground in shock. They had never seen such power. "It's like the stars are fighting for us," one young soldier whispered. In space, the fighting grew worse. Enemy drones swarmed the ESS Stormbringer, cutting deep into its engines. "We're losing power," the engineer shouted. Captain Ray, inside the Stormbringer, didn't hesitate. "Overcharge the main cannon," she said. "But we'll blow ourselves up. We do it, or they reach the surface." With shaking hands, they did it. The Stormbringer fired one last shot. A wave of blue fire exploded out, destroying 30 enemy ships. The Stormbringer went silent, but it had saved thousands. Inside the Destiny, Admiral Kane saw the explosion. "Ray, you were brave," she whispered. But there was no time to grieve. The enemy flagship had arrived, bigger than all others, blacker than space itself. It moved with purpose, its front cannon charged with dark energy. "They're aiming for the planet," someone shouted. "If that hits," Kane said, "Velari Prime is gone." She stood up. "Bring us between the beam and the planet." "Mom," her pilot asked. "That could destroy us." "I know." The Destiny moved. The enemy fired. A massive red beam shot across space. The Destiny's shields held, just for a second. Then they cracked. Inside the ship, systems failed. Sparks flew. The hull broke in places. Kane fell but stood back up. "Return fire," she said. "All of it." The Destiny's weapons glowed brighter than ever. They fired everything: lasers, missiles, energy waves. The enemy flagship took the hit, and finally, it cracked open. A massive explosion shook space. Enemy ships paused. Their flagship was gone. Velari and human crews across the fleet shouted in victory. They did it. They broke them. But it wasn't over. The remaining enemy ships regrouped. They moved in, desperate, fast, and angry. Then, a new sound. A signal from Earth. A hidden card. The Earth's final protocol activated. From behind a hidden moon, the Titan-class ship EF's Phoenix rose. It had not been used in over 200 years. It was Earth's greatest secret weapon. The Phoenix entered the fight. It didn't fire normal weapons. It used gravity bombs, implosions that folded space and crushed ships from inside. Within minutes, the enemy fleet broke apart. They ran. They vanished into the dark. The battle was won. Back on Velari Prime, the people cheered. High Counselor Varen looked up at the sky. Tears filled his eyes. "They saved us," he whispered. Kayla, the historian, smiled. "I told you, humans never disappear. They wait." Inside the ESS Destiny, engineers worked to repair damage. The ship was bruised, but alive. Admiral Kane sat in the command chair, her uniform torn, her voice tired, but proud. "We held the line," she said. A young officer asked, "What now, ma'am?" Kane looked at the stars. "Now," she said, "we help rebuild. We remind the galaxy, Earth stands with those who stand for peace. And we watch the dark, always." A new age began that day. The humans, once thought lost, were heroes once again. The Velari rebuilt their cities. Earth ships stayed behind to protect the region. And in the deepest corners of the galaxy, whispers spread. The humans have returned. Their fleet is unstoppable. Never challenge Earth again. The stars would never be the same. The battle was over. The stars were quiet again. Velari Prime, once covered by black smoke and fear, now stood under a clear sky. Its people walked the streets slowly in silence, not because they were sad, but because they still could not believe they were alive. And the reason for their survival? The humans. In the skies above, human ships floated like silent guardians. The giant ESS Destiny remained in orbit, watching, protecting. Its lights blinked like a heartbeat, steady and calm. Inside the ship, Admiral Sarah Kane stood at the viewing window. Her uniform was patched. Her face showed scars, but her eyes, still full of fire. A Velari ambassador stood beside her. "You could have left after the battle," he said, "but you stayed." Kane nodded. "We don't leave people behind. Not anymore." The ambassador looked at her. "Why did you help us? After all these years, after the galaxy forgot Earth." Kane turned toward him. "We never cared if they forgot," she said. "We remembered. That was enough." On Velari Prime, Kayla the historian walked through the ruins of the old museum. Books were scattered, artifacts broken. But in her hands, she held something new. A piece of a human starship hull. She placed it beside the galaxy's ancient records. "This," she said to a group of students, "is not just metal. It's a promise." "A promise?" one child asked. Kayla smiled. "That when the galaxy faces darkness again, someone will stand in the light." Far in space, at the edge of the known galaxy, deep scanners blinked with red light. A secret base hidden in a dead star system received the last message from the defeated enemy. A new voice answered. Deep, cold, not human. "The humans returned," the voice said. "They won this time. But next time, we will be ready." Back on Earth, for the first time in centuries, the Earth Fleet headquarters lit up in full power. Huge banners were raised. The people of Earth watched the footage of the great battle. A child pointed to the screen. "Will I fly a ship one day?" Her mother smiled. "If you train hard. Maybe one day you'll fly beside Admiral Kane." In her private room aboard the Destiny, Kane stared at an old photo. It showed a younger her, in training uniform, with friends long gone. She whispered, "We made it. We kept the galaxy safe, just like we said we would." Then she placed the photo down and walked to the bridge. A message had arrived, another distress call. Somewhere, someone else was in danger. Kane stood tall. "Set course. We don't rest yet." "Yes, Mom," her crew said. The engines powered up. The Destiny turned toward a new star system. As the stars moved, a message spread across all frequencies. Earth is awake. Earth protects. We are never alone again. The galaxy was healing. The Velari were rebuilding their cities. The humans were helping, offering ships, supplies, and knowledge. A new peace was growing, stronger each day, but far, far beyond known space. A signal blinked. Inside the ESS Destiny, Admiral Sarah Kane sat in a meeting room with her command team. Maps of the galaxy floated above the table. Colored lights marked safe zones, allied zones, and one dark corner, unexplored space, marked silent sector. Commander Rios looked at it closely. "We got a signal from there," he said. "Old code, pre-war encryption, Earth design." Kane leaned forward. "No one from Earth has gone there in centuries." Rios nodded. "But someone, or something, just called us from it." The message was short. Only 3 words. "They are coming." No sender, no origin, just static and those 3 words, looping again and again. Kayla, the Velari historian, stood near the data screen. "It's a warning," she said. "But from who?" Kane looked out the window toward the edge of the stars. "Let's find out." The Destiny and 2 other ships, the ESS Torchlight and ESS Raven, jumped into hyperspace. Their course, straight into the unknown. They traveled for days, past ancient starfields, past dead systems, until they reached the edge. What they found wasn't space. It was silence. There were no stars here, just darkness, as if something had erased the sky. Then, without warning, the Destiny's lights flickered. A shadow passed over the ship. No form, no heat, just presence. "Did you see that?" Rios whispered. Kane stood still. "We're not alone." The radar screamed. Ships appeared, dozens, maybe hundreds, but they weren't like anything before. They didn't give off heat. They didn't speak. They didn't even show up fully on sensors. They were invisible monsters in the dark. One of the human ships, ESS Raven, fired a warning shot. That was a mistake. The dark ships moved. Fast. In seconds, the Raven was gone. Not destroyed, taken. Swallowed into nothing. "Fall back," Kane ordered. But the enemy didn't follow. They just watched. Like hunters studying prey. As the Destiny retreated, another message came through. This one was clear. "You lit the stars. Now we come to put them out." Back in Velari space, Kane gave her report. "We don't know who they are, but they're older than anything we've seen. They didn't fear our weapons. They didn't speak. They just watched." Kayla added, "These are not conquerors, they're erasers." The Velari Council listened in silence. Then Kane said the words no one wanted to hear. "The war may be over, but the real enemy hasn't even begun." In a deep human vault on Earth, an ancient general woke from deep cryosleep. He opened his eyes and whispered, "They found us again." The alarms in the vault started ringing. A new project activated. Its name, Project Eclipse. The galaxy had felt peace, but now fear was returning. The unknown threat from the silent sector had taken one of Earth's ships without firing a single weapon. The enemies were fast, quiet, and terrifying. And worst of all, they were watching. Inside Earth's most secure base, hidden under the frozen surface of Pluto, Project Eclipse had activated. Only a few people on Earth even knew it existed. Admiral Kane stood in front of a massive steel door. Symbols from before the Great Silence were etched into it. Beside her stood a tall man, wrapped in a thick coat. His name was General Juno Vex, a war hero from 200 years ago, cryo-frozen after humanity's last dark war. Kane looked at him. "You were frozen for a reason." Vex nodded. "I said to wake me only if the real threat returned." She handed him a datapad. He saw the message. You lit the stars. Now we come to put them out. His jaw tightened. They're back. Inside Project Eclipse's vault, they opened the old hangars. Giant machines stood inside. Not ships, not tanks, something different. Star Guardians, massive battle suits, each one as tall as a small building. Meant for deep space, hand-to-hand combat. Built for enemies that couldn't be tracked. Designed to fight in pure darkness. Earth had kept them hidden for centuries. Because no one wanted to believe they would ever be needed again. Now, they were Earth's only hope. Back on Velari Prime, Kayla spoke to her students. We thought the humans had returned to protect us, but maybe they've returned to protect everyone. She paused, thinking deeply. Because there are stories, old ones, about creatures that live beyond the edge of stars. Creatures that consume light, memory, even time. One student whispered, "What are they?" Kayla looked out the window. "I don't know, but I don't think they're from this galaxy." On the Destiny, Commander Rios ran another scan of the silent sector. Something had changed. The darkness was spreading. Whole systems going dark. No signals, no light, just silence. It's like they're erasing star systems, he said. Admiral Kane stared at the map. Then we hit them first. The Eclipse fleet was ready. 6 ships, each with a Star Guardian on board. Admiral Kane, General Vex, and Earth's best soldiers. They jumped toward the darkness and found nothing. No enemy, no light, until an entire star suddenly went dark in front of them. Just blinked out of the sky. Then came the voice again. All channels, all frequencies. This galaxy belongs to the dark. You should have stayed forgotten. And then they came. Thousands of invisible shapes rising from the shadows. The final battle had begun. The Star Guardians launched. Falling through space like glowing giants, they crashed into the enemy swarm. Energy shields burned. Shockwaves echoed. The darkness screamed. General Vex charged straight into the heart of the storm. Earth stands, he shouted. No matter what you are, we do not bow. The fighting was wild. One by one, Earth's soldiers held the line. Velari ships arrived. Even other alien species, once afraid of Earth, joined the fight. The galaxy was united, for the first time, not against each other, but against the void. When it ended, only 5 Star Guardians remained. The rest were lost in the dark. But the enemy had been pushed back, not destroyed, but stopped. For now. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of the Destiny, looking at the silent sector. It's not over, she said. General Vex nodded beside her. No, but this time, they know humanity won't run. Across the stars, the message spread again. A new version. Earth lives. Earth fights. And Earth never forgets.